I think it is time for us to start. How is everybody today? I can't ask you where you're from. I can ask you what time it is at your end right now, because you've already told me where you're all from. And I can ask you now who has a cup of coffee or tea hiding behind the screen, just like I do. I always do that.
I'm a Coke person, so.
A Coke person, good. But it's still in the morning, your time, right?
Yes.
Good. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the International Women's Day, hosted for you by the Women for Impact organization. On behalf of my team, I would like to welcome all of you to this event and to our family, Women for Impact. I am Mais Jauhari, and I'm speaking to you from Manama, Bahrain. You can see it's very sunny right here. And I'm going to tell you that you should be expecting today 90 minutes, more or less, of knowledge sharing, and it will be very interactive. I will tell you a little bit about us, Women for Impact now, and I want to tell you that we all, as a team, believe that we can unlock females' full potential worldwide and increase their participation in economies, because we believe that this will make us live in a better world, maybe a more fairer world, and an enriched world. As a global team, we come from 10 different countries and 6 different continents. I can tell you that we did not plan for it to be this diverse. We did not plan for it to become this big, this fast. It just happens that people gather around a meaningful purpose, and we as a team found that we all share this passion and want to make a positive impact on children and for our daughters and sons likewise. Do you agree? For all of us, right? Okay, today you will be expecting, after this introduction, to be taken into a panel discussion head by our moderator with 3 amazing leader women in their fields. And they will be talking about the path to recovery after this situation that we are all in the world. They will be giving you some insights about women in innovation and transformation today to create a better world for all of us. After that, you'll be taken into an interactive session with Kelly. That will be very fun. You will be taken into breakout rooms. After that, we'll have a mini recognition ceremony for a highly impactful entrepreneur, and then we'll be doing the closing. Remember, this is a very friendly event. We'd like you to communicate. Type in the chat, flood it actually. We will love your comments, your questions, and please remember to post on social media. I'll be putting some hashtags for you in the chat in a bit for you to use and tease everybody that didn't make it to this event. Because you're very glad you're here, aren't you? We're all very excited to see what the team has prepared for us. I will hand you over now to our ambassador in Melbourne, Australia, Sophie. Sophie Kranz is a coach. She's an advisor and a speaker on international business leadership. She is our co-creator, and she is also a host for her Women in Trade program on women on import-export television in Australia. Sophie, I hand over to you now.
Thank you very much, and good evening from Melbourne. So here we are in 2021, and the world feels like a lonely place for most of us. Of course, it's been about a year now since we've been able to get out and explore our world for work, play, fun, to live, learn, and work, essentially. It can feel like a lonely place, and it can also feel somewhat like a dark place. But of course, we know that light every day does shine on our home, on Earth. And we also have people, leaders in our world who do shine light and create pathways for others to walk. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to interview 3 of these leaders in innovation and transformation, and share their stories and insights with you. And while the world feels like a lonely place, we know that there are 6.44 odd billion active internet users. We know that it's possible to connect, to learn, and to take inspired action. And so what I'd love for you to do today is to come along the journey, to ask questions, indeed in the chat, and to think about what's your inspired action. What is it that you can do tomorrow that indeed allows you to play a role in unlocking women's full potential for a better world? And so I thank you for joining us today on International Women's Day. And of course, we're here together because of the theme this year is Choose to Challenge. And the women that we are about to meet every day choose to challenge. And so I'm delighted to introduce them to you now. First of all, Alison Rowe is the IE University Managing Director of Venture Lab Insurtech Edition. We have Guagente San Martin, GM of HP's large format business, and Dr. Daniela Romagnoli, the Chair and Professor at the College of Business Administration at the Prince Mohammed bin Fahd University. What we're going to do in this session is learn from each of them for 5 or so minutes each, and then we'll open up for a panel discussion. My colleagues at Women for Impact will be watching the chat and indeed will let me know if there are any questions or key comments, and we'll make sure to cover those off before we end the session. So first of all, I would love to welcome Alison Rowe, who I believe is in Spain right now. Alison has a very distinguished background, as do all of our guests today. And as mentioned, the IE Managing Director of Venture Lab Insurtech Edition, as well as Professor in Business Innovation and Entrepreneurship, Business Angel, and founder of Hands on Culture. Alison, welcome.
Hello to everybody. Thank you so much for that introduction, Sophie. It's great to be here.
Wonderful, thank you. Arianna Huffington has said that success is not a straight line. It's much more a dance and being open to possibilities. And Alison, I know a little bit about your background and your drive to make an impact in the world, and it hasn't been a straight line. Could you share some of the highlights with us?
No, I definitely have not had a straight line. Some people call me a bit weird in terms of my background. I'm originally from New York. I studied at Smith College in Massachusetts, and I have always, since I was a little child, wanted to come to Europe or to leave the United States and to explore the world. And I think that's from my parents. Since I was a child, we always tended to look across the Atlantic instead of inwards, for whatever reason that was. And so when I was young, I always had this thought that I would work internationally and I was going to do my part to help save the world with whatever that meant at the time. And in order to do that, I needed some money, since when graduating, my parents said, well, that's great. You've got your degree. Now do your thing. And so I actually first worked at a multinational company in corporate law in emerging markets. And the only reason I did that was to save money. In fact, I remember when they offered me the job, I was very upset because I thought, oh, this is a serious job. And I was going to go to the mall and get a job just so that I could come over to Europe. But anyway, I took the job and it was an amazing job. I learned everything that I didn't want to do in the future, but from the multinational perspective. And I came to Spain, and with the justification I was going to study a graduate degree, because I had to justify the decision to my parents after still not getting the return on my investment for the undergraduate degree. And started working in international relations and politics, humanitarian action, armed conflicts, and all that stuff. And I became a political analyst for armed conflicts, infiltrating sometimes with different humanitarian NGOs in order to go to the field and to get some information and whatnot, writing. And then I had a weird accident, not in the field of any conflict zone, but in the streets of Madrid, which changed my professional and personal trajectory radically. And I then went to policy work, since I couldn't really be in war zones for a while. Then after about 10 years of that, I didn't think I was making the impact that I always wanted to, even though I was working so hard. So I thought, well, I had one of my best friends had started a nonprofit back in the United States, and she was doing amazing things. And I just thought, wow, I could do so much more, even just volunteering, than giving up everything. And so I decided, where could I go that was exciting for me, that would still have me in innovation and learning. And I thought, higher education. So I remembered my times when I was at college, and I thought, well, that's where I want to be. So I left the field of armed conflicts and politics and policy work and got a job at an American university in Madrid. And I worked there for a while. Then I got a little antsy again and thought, well, something else to learn. Wasn't quite doing what I wanted to do either. The impact still wasn't there, even though I enjoyed the job. And I thought, well, who has the money to make an impact on the areas of the world and society that I wanted to? And I thought, big business. So then I studied a degree in corporate social responsibility and thought, big business is they're the ones with the money, much more than anyone else. And shortly into that degree, I thought, no, that's not it either. But I finished the degree, and then still continued to work on various different things, and kind of fell into entrepreneurship and innovation. And first investing, then also I started a small business supporting with communications and marketing, and for small and medium-sized businesses. And I was back and forth between Madrid and New York. And anyway, lo and behold, eventually I got a call, and I was asked to come to IE University to do a favor for who has been my boss for the past 6 years. And I was 7 months pregnant at the time. And he said, "Can you come in?" And I said, "I should be able to handle it for another 3 or 4 months." Who knew? It was my first time being pregnant. And I ended up staying there. 6 years later, I'm still there. I never thought I would work for another person again. I thought entrepreneurship was for me, and that I would never respond in that way, maybe only to clients, but not to bosses. But I found my people, and I found my change makers. And I realized, after really getting involved and connecting, that for me, what I was searching for in terms of who can make an impact, for me, I found as the startup entrepreneurs, those that were able to see things from a different perspective and act. And just do it and execute and get out there and make the impact. And that's where I am now.
Wonderful. And so many people look for their way and how to make an impact in life. And so you've mentioned that your people are the change makers and the startup entrepreneurs. What's some of the work, the projects that you're involved with?
Oh, that is the exciting part. So right now I'm just managing the InsurTech edition of the Venture Lab, but I've been the director of the Venture Lab everything for the past 6 years. And that is because I'm also I'm changing roles at IE, and I'm right now the executive director of a new program for our undergraduate degrees, where we are having a strong push for entrepreneurship there. But I've had the privilege of working on, I mean, you name it, it's all over the place. Anything from, I don't know, we have a platform for therapies, for different types of psychological therapies online. There's one of our teams is really having success right now, Hangry. They are taking advantage of, the Ubers and the Cabify cars and selling different branded materials inside the cars, preparing ourselves for the driverless cars in the future, but really getting their foot into the door, literally, right now with the cars and selling. We've had a team that was finding a new way they actually set up in their apartment in Madrid. I can't remember the word in English, but basically to grow mushrooms in their apartments that really didn't require like huge types of investments in water or in fields, but they've set these things up, and I mean it's literally, it's kind of all over the place. So I wouldn't exactly know where to begin. I mean, language programs, it's a little bit of everything.
Wonderful. So from where you sit, the world's a rather exciting place.
It is. And it's just, I think that, that the expression that we have in English, like the world is your oyster, literally, I think that for the entrepreneurs, there's no boundaries and there's no stopping. And even if, let's say, people say, oh, well, there's always laws and regulations. Well, I think that the entrepreneurs have a mindset, or the successful ones think ahead and think towards the future about perhaps what not is right now, but anticipating what will be, or even being the driving force behind what will be, and almost be the authors, right, of what's to come.
Wonderful. Well, Alison, it's been wonderful having this quick intro chat with you. Look forward to drilling into more detail about what entrepreneurs can do at the moment with the challenges that the world faces. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sophie.
And so now we're going to move on and welcome Guagente San Martin, who is the GM of HP's large format business. Guagente, welcome.
Welcome, Sophie. Welcome, and good morning, good afternoon to everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. Guagente, you are indeed an accomplished and a busy lady. So I understand that you are responsible for the strategy and development at Hewlett-Packard, passionate about innovation, process and development of teams with a special focus on women. And you were the first woman at HP to undertake a transformation program, responding to exponential opportunities and risks and disruption. Tell us about why you led that project. What was the background?
Let me tell you first that today it is very strange, but I do feel the energy of this meeting. And it's very strange because we know that like it's not the same. Now imagine I think now we have 100 people here in a room, and I'm sure we would feel the energy, but I don't know why, like today I feel it. I don't know if it was for Alison, for you, for the chat, I don't know, I feel it. So I just wanted to share it. No, so that's first thing. So thank you very much for those that have decided to join, like, and have a Women for Impact, like, I think it's a great thing. So related to your questions, so I was not the first woman, I was the first leader in HP, the first leader in Europe, and the first leader in Spain to drive, to try this exponential work, where Soledad and Corina Almagro, like Corina was the head coach, fantastic, and Soledad, I have her here, was one of the coaches of the team. So it was at that time where the model was not fully proven, and I was just joining the team. So I have been in HP working all over the world, and from Singapore to Palo Alto to Houston, but I got finally to be the GM of the business that I'm now, that is the large format business. And it was my dream role, but I was new into the role. And that business is a very good business for HP, solid, profitable, stable. Okay, so not dramatic, it's not, it was stable, no, but very good, a very good business. So when I joined, I felt that I had to do something different. And the team is this organization in Barcelona is extraordinary, motivated, passionate, so it's and I said, what can I do? No, and then like I learned through Corina and the team, I learned about this exponential methodology, to drive innovation. And I'm extremely passionate about innovation processes. I have two passions, like innovations and women development. So I decided to try it. So like I thought it was a moment that the organization, more than the business, the organization needed a pulse, needed an impact, needed to do something different. And every time you start a new process, especially if it's an innovation process, it's a burst of energy. So that's why I decided to start.
Wonderful. And I feel like we could talk a lot about this, Guagente, but we've only got a couple of moments, of course. But what I do know as well is that you lead a team of 1,000 engineers. And of course, we live in disruptive times. How do you focus on innovation and take the team along with you and achieve the commercial outcomes that you're required in your leadership role?
So as I said, no, like first, I'm gonna put the example of this last no, innovation and exponential innovation process that we ran in Barcelona. So I do think that all of these, the innovation processes, if well managed, you know, they allow the business to have a new beginning. So when you say, how do I lead? I did involve the full organization in this process. We selected a team of 28 people that could participate among the 1,000. They were like the selected team. We created 4 teams. They had people from all the ranking, like from the just hired people to the people that had been 20 years, complete diversity for sure, cultural, gender, like in all the teams. We created one team that was the millennials because they were more the challenger when you were talking about challenge. So if you want to move one organization, it's not the same energy that like the millennials have that the people that have been 25, but they are all competitive. So they didn't want to be like left behind, the one that had been more on the organization. So I think that's, like that's when you ask me, what do I do, is to set these processes that set a new beginning and involve the organization. I think it's one fundamental thing for me in all my career that I have learned is the power is in the people. So if you want to do anything with your business, with your team, it's all about the people. So that like creating, having a robust process, and involve the people and trust that they can be the change agent. That's what I do.
Wonderful. Simon Sinek has said, a boss has a title, a leader has the people. And what you've just explained there is a great illustration of being a leader in the world today. And what are your thoughts on, so the 1,000 odd engineers that you lead in the organization today, what's the role of the corporate world and girls in STEM? How do we make sure that 1,000 in the future has a very high percentage of women?
So as you know, and like in this group, we don't need to give data, but it's certainly like the world is becoming, the roles of jobs in the future are more, will have technology, like the women, the Economic Forum, says that like 50% of the jobs in 2025, so tomorrow, are going to be related to technology, and there are still very few women in technology. So I think that's one. When you ask me what are the things that worry me more, it is like still the funnel of at the schools. We are not creating in the educations, in the families. We are not creating enough love for the technology when our children are young. Okay, and there is lack of references. There is lack of understanding. What the engineers or STEM girls do. I do think that we need to show the purpose of the work that we do. And let me give you an example. If I tell you that at my business I do large format printers, how attractive is to you? Well, so the truth. Okay, but if I tell you that what I do in my business is that I do believe that everyone is a creator and everyone deserves to make a big impression. The only thing that I do is facilitate that you can make a big impression. That's, I think it's a completely different purpose, and also like I have a second purpose that is all the signage that you see on the street is made with non-sustainable technology. So my purpose in life is that every signage print that is made in the world is a sustainable one. So I think the purpose, is very, and for that there are many things and engineering things that have to happen. I think that approach, to how we explain the value that technology has in our life has to change. Otherwise, we will not bring different parts of the world. So that's, I think it's one of the biggest things we have all to worry about. That is, how do we bring more young people into loving technology, especially women or girls.
Wonderful. And connecting it to purpose, is an area I'd love to explore with you more when we get into the panel discussion. Thank you so much, Gwajinte.
Excellent.
So next we're going to, thank you. Next we're going to move to Saudi Arabia, where we're going to speak to Dr. Daniela Romagnoli, the chair and professor at the College of Business Administration at the Prince Mohammed bin Fahd University. Hello, Daniela.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Wonderful, thank you. I also understand that you are an owner of an agritourism business in Costa Rica.
Yes, ma'am.
And yes, and so we know that you are passionate about women entrepreneurship in the MENA region, the Middle East, North Africa region. Tell us about that. What is that in the world right now?
Well, the beautiful thing about MENA and entrepreneurship, hold on, we're about to get a guest speaker here. The wonderful thing about MENA region is that we are flooded with opportunities. And at this point, being a woman here is fantastic. The window of opportunity that we always refer to in business is alive and well when it comes to entrepreneurship for women here, which is one of the main reasons I came to the MENA region. I think it's, and a lot of my students are on the chat here, and welcome, ladies. The whole idea of coming here, honestly, is to be able to inspire young women to go out, do it, learn, study, get ready, go out and do it. The MENA region right now is full of changes happening. We have changes in policy, we have changes in culture, we have changes in perspective. And really the opportunity is there for my students and for their moms and for their daughters to be able to get out into the world and start something amazing.
Wonderful. And so can you tell us what it's like as an entrepreneur? What are some of the initiatives that women entrepreneurs are working on in the MENA region at this time?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have so many changes happening. A few years ago, we could not drive here in Saudi. We can now drive. Our female students were not encouraged to go to university. They can now go to university, get an education, get jobs. We have policy being changed to encourage hiring of Saudi women in leadership positions. And so all of these changes are really nothing but opportunities that my students are living through. Being here and being able to get a driver's license, and that I know I will one day share with my granddaughter and say, you know what, I was there. I encouraged women that before could not open up businesses to actually open up a business, be grounded and be inspired by what they can do.
Amazing. I'd love to understand in a little bit more detail, what's the experience of your students? Is it a case of understanding opportunities and then matching that with technology and how we can create and capture value with emerging technologies and innovative business models? Or what's the process, the entrepreneurial process that you're imparting with the women students you teach?
Okay, ladies, feel free to put something up on the chat and get involved here. But the whole idea, as far as I'm concerned, for women entrepreneurship here in Saudi Arabia especially, is for such a long time, women were not allowed to compete with men. Now we're able to compete for jobs. The market is shrinking. The job market, traditional job market is shrinking, which really gives us the opportunity. And women here have to drive, because we have not had the chance before to compete for jobs, to actually do an excellent job. And so when it comes to starting up businesses, we have the support of the King and Vision 2030. We have programs such as Women for Impact that are really helping us to create ecosystems and be part of a group of strong women. And we have the opportunity to go out and do the job. So it is just the perfect storm for women to ride.
Wonderful. How exciting. And thank you so much for sharing the amazing time that it is in Saudi Arabia. And while much of the world is indeed in contraction, it's wonderful that there are policy and top-down changes that are providing opportunities for women. And would love to know more about it when we launch into the next phase of the panel discussion. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So what I'm going to do now is move into the next phase of the discussion. And indeed, it is a panel discussion where I will ask questions and invite all three of our panelists to answer, building on each other's responses, questioning each other if that's the case, and indeed let's see where we can take the discussion, and indeed feeding in any comments and questions from the chat from the audience. So what we have at the moment, by and large around the world, is a case of, particularly for skilled workers, we have a case of the pink collar recession. The pandemic has disproportionately affected working women, and they are having to make choices to work less, potentially working less hours, of course, or leaving the workforce altogether. And there's a lot to unpack with that. But to each of you in your line of work, what do you see as being the most pressing challenge or opportunity to address the pink collar recession? Feel free to jump in.
I'll go first. I think, as I said, the most pressing, as I said, is and is linked to what Daniela really is doing, is don't stop, educating girls, on what is achievable and what we can do, and giving, the hope, knowledge that this can happen. I think this is one thing we cannot stop, and I think the more we do these things, but not for only the ones that are already in the marketplace, but for those that are still to come. I think that paying attention about on the education, I think for me it's a fundamental thing we need to continue. And it's true, now there is this time of change. I think that is not only, as many have talked, is not only a pandemic. For me, it's a change of a real era, where the world is going to be different. So we better take we need to make sure that the values that we want to have on diversity, that they are not lost in this new era. So education, I think for me, it's fundamental.
Wonderful, thank you. Anything to add, Daniela or Alison?
I don't know, Daniela, do you want to speak first? I can. Oh, I would add to that, and I completely agree with Valiente that, of course, also working in a university, I can't speak enough about how important it is to have the education behind it and to have those supports. I would add to that in further the importance there, and I think the opportunity that comes from these hardships of creating communities and creating networks. I studied at a women's college, and for me personally, I can tell you that still, 20 years, a little more than that later, my closest friends and my closest supports are my best friends from college. And now, luckily, my first years in Spain many years ago, it was very hard for us to be in contact. But now with today's technology, it's fantastic to be able to have that support through. The other morning I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning. They were all having cocktails. They're all in the United States. They were all having cocktails out, and I got up with a glass of water just to be able to have this synchronous connection, and not just through WhatsApp, but it's something that gives definitely me a lifeline. I think also one of the most pressing challenges I would add there is the difficulty it's almost like a catch-22, where if you highlight the challenges specifically that we as women are facing and that have been so, in your face, right, in the past 12 months because of the difficulties that are happening right now because of the dynamic of the pandemic. I think that I think on the one hand, it's important to make visible our challenges on social media, on our LinkedIn posts, on our WhatsApp. It's so great, right? We can all be so successful and so happy, and everything is, we're so supportive and everybody's getting along. But the fact of the matter is that life is hard, and there's tough stuff going on, and a lot of that is not publicized. Obviously, you're not going to do a rant on LinkedIn, but I think, and so on the one hand, it's difficult because we keep those things invisible and below the surface, but at the same time, by doing that, it also sometimes, I think, helps to keep us isolated. And therein the importance of the opportunity to create more opportunities for mentoring, or for just either be a mastermind group or just a group of friends that are, going through the same experiences. And not even, I'm in one mastermind a week where I'm not friends, shall we say, with the other women in the group. And I mean, literally to the extent of, we're not on each other's WhatsApps, we're not on our Instagrams or our Facebook groups, but we just connect every single week at a specific time, and we're there to offer support. And that in itself is a lifeline where, sometimes you can't always make it. But I think that the challenges are various. I think the invisibleness, is that a word, of our struggles is a huge problem, but that from there we can create opportunities for ourselves.
And how have you found, Daniela, you are, of course, leading entrepreneurship in Saudi, entrepreneurship of women. And you've worked, of course, in the developing world. How have you found women in terms of supporting each other and the formation of community and network?
I think actually women are very strong at networking. Where we tend to lack a little bit is self-promotion. The assertiveness of promotion. We tend to be caregivers. We were brought up to take care of other people and put ourselves last. And sometimes we feel, I mean, for myself, almost ashamed of, thinking that I am good enough. And so we really need to change that mindset. And it's very, very important. I tell my students all the time, you need to have a small group, an inner circle of very trusted women, strong women that will promote you, that will speak kindly about you, that will encourage you, that will say no when no needs to be said, somebody who can be honest with you. And so I do think all over the world, I've seen that women are very able to, communicate with one another, but we do need to have that foundation, that small group of women that are business leaders, that are strong women. Sometimes we're so intimidated to come up with somebody that we view as so smart or so everything. And so we tend to shy away from forming those relationships, when in reality, you are just as good, you're just as smart, you're just as capable, you just have to get out and do it. So that formation of, like Maze, we just happened to have met because I met her husband at a coffee shop. But, the conversation was, wow, my wife is into the same thing that you are. You guys should meet. Let's get together. Let's have a coffee. Let's talk about this issue. And the friendship was made. So that is the idea behind it, is we're women, we have strong women behind us that support us, that are going to build us up so that eventually we can support the next generation.
So Daniela, just one point on the networking. You said we are very good at networking. I think we are very good at making community and connecting, and I'm not sure, I see a big difference. In fact, I always say it's one of the weaknesses, you put it as a strength of women at work, and it's true, we can connect very well, we create communities, but at work I see that women are not that good at create and what I call a supporting network that doesn't need to get to know them very well. So let me explain what I mean. At work, I see many of my colleagues that they support each other, very easily, and they don't even know if they are married or not. They don't know anything about them. For us, and maybe I'm talking personally, in order to connect with someone and to be part of their support, like to support someone, I need to understand the full person a little bit more. So I need to know them not only for work and how they make the excel of the decision. I need to understand their values, the purpose. I need to understand the person more. And this makes me that it for me has been harder to make a network of supporters at work. No? And certainly if you want to be successful especially at work, you need a strong people that would would tell how good you are, would support you, and to get that people, it has not been for me that easy. And let me tell you, I have been extremely lucky because I had great supporters, have become extremely powerful people. And I have been lucky, but it has taken me a lot, of time to get this real not trust from others, and that's one thing that I think we have to do as women here, or whoever is listening today. Is I always say that I trust the women that you're working with or that you're working for, even though if you don't know her, just trust. The first thing is do a lot of trust, because women with trust, we are stronger. And it takes us a while, at least for me, to trust someone that I don't know completely. So that's my...
Yeah, and that's interesting because I have a very different experience. When it comes to business, I don't necessarily want people that know everything about me, because I want the decision to be a business decision. I don't want, I make a line between my personal life and my business life. And so I think it's just a different approach. And, well, on the other hand, there are some people that are in my personal inner circle that I want to know everything about. But for me, business trust and business community is very different than my home and my friendship community. And maybe, it's a personality thing, maybe I had some issues growing up. But the whole idea is that as business women, we need strong business leaders. We need to see ourselves in the business leaders so that we aim to become like them and to be able to have the interaction. So for example, my students that are here today, to be able to communicate with you afterwards, to be able to have the example of the women who put Women for Impact movement together. For me, that contact, that initial contact gives the opportunity to create that inner circle. We all mentor somebody in our lives, or we should mentor somebody in our lives. And so I look at this as an amazing opportunity to build that business partnership or business inner circle, as I refer to.
And we know that in the world right now, of course, while we can't travel, we can indeed connect. And there's 135 odd people on the call right now. And indeed, all of those people have a shared purpose. And there are a lot of people on the call that are interested or indeed working in innovation and transformation. And when we look at that, when we look at value that can be created by business, we know that in the last 12 months, there's been vast amounts of value created. I mean, Jeff Bezos alone, his personal wealth increased by $68.6 billion from March 2020 to February 21. And we've seen, of course, Elon Musk move up to be the wealthiest person on the planet. And I understand he's just dropped down a place. But all that to say, it's possible to create vast amounts of wealth. There are new business models. There are new ways to build and manage and scale a business. And it's interesting to note that these two gentlemen and others are driven by purpose, but they're driven by a different purpose. They're space-driven purposes, with Elon Musk having a sense of responsibility for the environment. And so what about all of the need in the world and the purpose that has led us to meet here in this Zoom room today? What are the competitive advantages that women bring, and what hasn't been harnessed? What's the unleveraged? In the EXO world, we talk about leveraged assets. What hasn't been leveraged? How women not being engaged in the workplace, does that not only create a burden in the world, but what what's the upside that hasn't yet been untapped and hasn't been exploited for good. And so I think this idea of connecting with the right people is really, really important. But related to that is also this idea, and I'd love to understand from our panelists, what do we do in the world right now if we have a purpose? We know 1 million people a year apply for a job in the UN. Two of the women on our panel, and me included, have worked in, international development and so on, and humanitarian efforts. So if we have a world where we have a lot that needs fixing, and yet we have new business models, innovative business models, and exponential technology that allows the work and allows us to create new things, what do we do? Do we focus on fixing what's broken or creating what's new and needed in the world?
Yeah,
well, that's actually, a lot.
I agree with Monica, and the answer would be both, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can't just erase every system and start anew, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to build on what we have, and disruption and change can be a wonderful thing. So I definitely think that we have strong women and we have the power to do things. As far as what we have not really used from a women's perspective is, as human beings, we're caring human beings. We're mothers, we're sisters, we're friends. And so we have this innate need to care for other people. Why don't we take that is a need that we have, a sociological need that we have, and turn it into power? Why don't we use that need that we have and create strong, younger women who can stand on their own, who can build businesses, who can build strong communities, who can educate the next generation, and create a system based on that strength that we already have as women?
I following on what Daniela said, and this might not be addressing completely what you just mentioned, Sophie, but I firmly believe that when we think about, and if those who are admiring the Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, and credit is due there. I think it's also on it depends on where you place your value. If the value is on the bottom line, then you also need to understand that what is your bottom line? Is your bottom line wholly focused on the dollar value or the euro value or the whatever value? Or are we also looking at, effect upon society, the impacts that you're having? And it's something, that the exciting program that right now that I have in my hands, and I'm really privileged to be able to be kind of driving and creating for our students, is to help those who are searching, the 17-year-olds that are just entering into university and wanting to find a purpose and to find a way of doing it, and helping them through our humanities, technology, entrepreneurship courses to help them to learn how to go about doing that. I think that it's more, for me, it's looking more in terms of the impact and across the board. And definitely, through entrepreneurship, we're looking at profitable business models. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to make a profit. Because to be honest with you, first of all, just matter of factly, there's nothing wrong with wanting to make a profit. But when we're looking at different initiatives or ventures that are looking to go beyond and to have an impact across society or wherever it is, in order to be able to have that sustainable across and over time in the long term, it's essential, in my opinion, that it is profitable. And so helping people and women to understand that, and I've gone through this where it was different nonprofits and always having to search for grants and raising money. It's very exhausting, and it takes you away a lot of times from being able to focus on having that impact. But if we can help people to understand and learn that there are ways of creating business models that serve the purpose for the impact and for the profitability and for the overall sustainability of the venture, then that's where my focus is right now. And I think that that's where we can really have an influence. And I would go as far to say that it's not, it's for men and women, and for whatever gender people identify with. Yeah, I think that there's a lot to be done there. And I don't know, it's something that keeps me up at night, but in the best of ways, because I'm always thinking about how we can keep pushing it forward.
And I know that in this world, that there is no like this change that is coming. I think one of the big areas of hope is that companies have realized that every one of us now is going to be willing to buy things from companies that have a purpose, that have an impact on society. And this is more and more, not like a true. So big corporates like ours, like mine, in HP, are gonna be like investing and being a participant and stepping up on things that are like purpose and value. I can tell you HP decided, has always been the HP way. Not like has one thing that has always been there, and then the big monsters of technology grew up, and like HP was not that fashion, let's say. But now HP has this this belief on people, and have made just a few years ago that it has decided that it wants to have an impact on society, helping on human rights, climate change, and reducing the digital divide. And that's 3 objectives, all of it, for the sustainable purpose. And I think this is more and more what you're going to see. So I think this is for me, it's a big hope that in the future, not only us as individuals, societies, governments, are going to fight, for this purpose, but it's the corporations are going to have, are going to help, to make a better society. So that's, I would add this. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful, thank you. Ladies, we are out of time. Hasn't it gone quick? So I'd like to get one line from you each, please. Guajente, let's start with you. What's your piece of advice? Anyone on the call who is wanting to take a step tomorrow based on the discussion we've had today, what's your one piece of advice for them?
I would just say select a woman, another one, either you know it or not, that you want to profoundly help.
Wonderful, thank you. Daniela, what's your advice?
Okay, and I'll actually piggyback on that, but turn it backwards, is for students, find somebody that you want to aspire to be. And then go do your own thing.
Wonderful, thank you. And Alison, over to you.
Again, building upon what my fellow panelists have mentioned, I would add to that and saying, do it and don't be afraid to make a mistake, and keep going.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, panelists, for a wonderful discussion. It feels as though we could talk for another few hours. And indeed, it'd be wonderful if people want to continue the discussion, can find others in the community to keep talking and learning. So thank you again. And I'd also like to mention, we had a 4th panelist who was unfortunately unable to join us, but Nolly Mayoto, the Executive Head of Business Intelligence, Analytics, Planning and Monitoring at First National Bank in South Africa, provided invaluable input to the event today, and we hope to have Nolly with us next time. What I'm going to do now is pass over to Sahar, and we are going to go to Manama in Bahrain, where Sahar will introduce our next part of the event. Sahar is co-founder of Women for Impact, coach and advisor, and founder of Impactique. Over to you.
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, everyone. I really enjoyed the panel discussion, and I really enjoyed the chat as well. And if you haven't seen the chat, go through it. So before we start the next session, we have a message by a special guest that I would like to share. I'd like to introduce Christine Harb, and she's based in Dubai. She's the VP of Marketing at Visa, Central Europe, Middle East, and Africa. She's also the co-founder of Connected